Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Never Alone Live. Never Alone Live. I should have been a DJ, right? Our friend Krista isn't here today. She is here every week, and unfortunately, she's not today. She is out doing some extraordinary personal things, and she's in our prayers, and she's out there doing it and living and getting the rewards of recovery. And but we have some guests here today. Our friend Ian, Ian is a man of many talents. And he is, yeah, I know, I know that might have been a little generous in this introduction, but he's a man of talent. He's a man of many talents, and Ian is the writer of one of my favorite books, The Big Bitter Book. And I'm a 12-step guy. I love the 12 steps. I love the big book. I love everything about the big book, as does Ian. But he wrote this, which is a parody of the 12 steps, and they're so funny. And if you don't think this is funny, frankly, you don't have a sense of humor. So Ian, how are you today? How are you living? Tell us everything about yourself in 3 seconds.
Oh God. 1, 2, 3. No, I'm doing really good, man. Just working. You know me. I got a bunch of different things going on in my life. I'm married. I'm a homeowner, and my Spritey Day is August 3rd or that's my real birthday. My Spritey Day is August 28th of 2015. So actually, coming up, I will have 11 years, and it's really funny because I wrote the Big Bitter Book. I love to laugh. I love comedy, and I think people need a big sense of humor, especially coming out of the darkness that we have all come from. And it's so funny. Coming up on 11 years. I'm a big believer in 12-step communities. I've been involved the entirety of my recovery, and I get so much hate for this book. It's hilarious. It's the funniest thing ever. I get, staunch 12-step supporters who just bash on me. They think I'm trying to tear down the fabric of the recovery community with it. And then they meet me and they're like, oh, like you're involved in recovery and you sponsor guys, you do all this stuff. But people who haven't met me and they just read the book, I get so much hate for it. And it is the funniest thing ever. So if you do not have a sense of humor, please do not read the book. That sums me up in a nutshell.
Ian, you're one of the greatest people that I've met on TikTok. Ian, and I know, and dude, I know you're super humble, and I don't know anybody that dislikes Ian except your wife, but you earned that one. And dude, I'm so excited for today. So today we're gonna have a few more people joining, right? And we got people in the comments, and we've got my brother Joel. Joel, get rid of that hat for a second, because we got to show this off. This is the legacy of the bald and the beautiful. Maybe we're gonna start a new live, and it's just gonna be bald guys, and it's gonna be a soap opera, and we're gonna this is gonna be awesome. The bald and the beautiful. That sounds like a good. That sounds like a good one. And we've got Jolene here saying hey, and Brandy Brandy is here saying hey, and Carly is in the comments. And where is that other name? Kevin Lopez, 1 year 10 months today. That's what I'm talking about, dude. And then we've got Patrick. Patrick is our friend Poppy. Patrick, and I'm telling you, Ian, Big Bitter Book right here. Ian, that's Ian. Patrick, Poppy is one of our favorites. You'd love Poppy. So we're asking a question, and we're gonna have a bunch of people coming in today. So we're asking everybody kind of the same question. So Ian, I'm gonna ask you first. what is the most important lesson that you've learned in recovery? You've got newcomers in front of you, and you are their only big book right now. There, you've got 30 seconds to tell them something. What hope have you received that you would want to give out?
So I practice a spiritual program. And so I'm not, anything I say is my opinion alone. I'm not trying to tell anyone what they have to do. If you found your own methodology of recovery, awesome. Congratulations. For this specific question, in my personal opinion, the further away I get from my last drink or thing or whatever, the closer I have to be getting to a spiritual concept. I choose to call God, right? I don't care if you're 2 days sober, 11 years sober, 20 years sober. Like, I have to grow in effectiveness and understanding of the spiritual, because no matter what, I'm going to walk through life and stuff's going to happen. Bad, good, different, doesn't matter. And a majority of that time, my fears, resentments, my misunderstandings of the world around me cause that fear and tension. And that makes for the perfect opportunity to relapse if left to my own devices, right? So that's why I have to get further into that prayer, meditation, whatever those things look like to you. And again, this is my personal opinion, take it with a grain of salt. But that's the most important thing to me, of just learn to sit in the present moment and be comfortable with myself, regardless of what's going on, right? And utilizing that faith and trust in your personal beliefs, your program, your community. And with that, you can literally get through anything. That was 30 seconds, right? Sure.
Absolutely, dude. What an amazing answer. What an amazing answer. And Joel, my brother Joel Anthony from the Sober Sessions, one of our very first guests on Never Alone Live, and he spoke at our at Freedom Fest in last January. And my brother, what are you up to lately? You haven't been around. You don't call, you don't write.
I don't email, I don't mail, nothing like. But yeah, man. Lately, I talked to you just yesterday. I've been on a spiritual reset. Like most of y'all know me, my sobriety date is March 23rd, 2016. I have over a decade clean and sober. Has every day been amazing? No, man. We go through our trials, we go through our tribulations, but like I'm learning how to navigate those things now in my life. Really right now, man, I'm just trying to work on my platform. I'm trying to get myself out there. I'm trying to speak in more places than I used to. I'm trying to find prisons in the area. I'm new to South Carolina. I'm from New England back home. Like I had it all set, I had places to go, people to see. Like I knew where I could find places. Like everybody knew who I was. So it was easy for me to get into places. But here it's like a fresh start. Nobody really knows who I am, but that's where, when opportunity presents itself, like I kick the door in and introduce myself. So yeah, I'm really just trying to get out there more, trying to just push the word, trying to breathe life into people who need it, those struggling with addiction, speaking not only for the addicts but their families alike. I get a lot of messages from moms and dads speaking on like, man, my child's struggling, what do I do? And one of the biggest things that I tell parents is never lose hope. Right? Never lose hope. Let them know that they're loved. Let them know that you're there for them. You might have to love them from a distance, right? But like that's one thing that kept me alive, was knowing that I had the love from my mom. She never walked away from me. A lot of us addicts, our family writes us off. They want nothing to do with us, right? Well, I try to bring light to that. I try to help those families. I try to let them understand from a different side. So really for me, man, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to just get myself out there, trying to expand my platform and all that. And yeah, I'm in actually the process of writing a book. So that's I've linked up with a lot of authors over time. Shout out to Jeff Vickers. I know he's been on here. I've met a lot of amazing people.
You got another one now.
I know.
Yeah, you got And Ian's writing his second book that he's been talking about for a year and a half. I'm not even bringing it up, Joel. Why would you bring up such a hurtful thing? We're not even going to talk about it. Joel, let me ask the question. What is the most important thing that you've learned in recovery?
All right. I think the most important thing that recovery has taught me isn't how to stop drinking or using substances, right? And it's ironic that God just put this word on me, but it's what we talked about at Freedom Fest. It's how to surrender, right? Like there was a time when I thought the answer was trying harder or being stronger, pretending that I had everything under control and carrying the weight of the world by myself, right? I believed if I could just fix myself, I could fix my life, right? But like recovery shattered that illusion. Like it taught me that like my life didn't begin the change because I became stronger, right? It changed the moment I admitted I couldn't save myself. And like that lesson didn't stop with recovery, right? It's become the foundation of my walk with Christ. Recovery was never the finish line. It was the starting line. God didn't just rescue me from alcohol. Like how can I want to say it? He began rebuilding the man underneath it, right? Like sobriety gave me another chance to live, but Jesus is teaching me how to truly live the life with purpose, like every single day. He's showing me that transformation isn't just about changing my behavior. It's about changing my heart. And like recovery has also taught me that healing isn't just putting down the bottle, it's putting down the old version of myself. I was just talking to a friend of mine a minute ago before I was on here. It's the pride, it's the ego, it's the anger, it's the bitterness, it's the need to always be right, it's the need for approval, it's the fear, it's the shame, right? Every day God invites me to lay down another piece of the man that I used to be, so he can shape me into the man that he created me to become. And like that process isn't comfortable. I'm going to tell you right now, it's the most uncomfortable thing. But I've learned that growth rarely is, right? God is far more interested in my character than he is in my comfort. And like I've also learned that surrender isn't something I do once. It's something that I have to choose to do every single day. Like every morning I have another opportunity to trust him instead of myself, to follow his direction instead of my own emotions, and to believe his promises instead of my fears, right? Like if there's one lesson that stands out alone all above the rest, it's this. God didn't save my life so I could simply survive. Like he saved my life so I could surrender it back to him. And I think today my greatest goal isn't just to stay sober. Like it's to become more like Jesus. Because at the end of the day, like at the end of my life, I don't want to be remembered as someone who simply overcame addiction. Like I want to be remembered as a man who walked with Christ, loved people well, and used the second chance God gave me to point others to the one who gave it. Yeah. That's it, man. That's what recovery has taught me.
Joel, that's so big, man. That's so big. And the word surrender, and talking about surrender and talking about giving up and powerlessness. I mean, this is all first step, second step, right? And there's a lot of people that come into recovery, and I mean, we talk about higher powers a lot, right? And we talk about the necessity of a higher power, and it's great psychologists that talked about this and doctors that talked about this, which is very humbling for a doctor to say that we can't do nothing here. They're going to need something else. They're going to need a power greater than themselves. And, the evolution of the power greater than ourselves is so awesome. And where it can take us is endless. So, Joel, my brother, I'm so glad you're here. Hang out for a second. I got to introduce Tiffany. Tiffany, what's up, girl? How you doing?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Tiffany, have you know Joel? Do you know Ian? Are you just meeting these guys for the first time?
Just meeting them first time.
Tiffany, I don't know if you got
Nice
the
to meet
memo
you,
or
Tiffany.
not, but you have to have a beard and shaved your head in order to be on here. Okay.
Damn, I just grew my hair back and shaved my beard.
Damn it! Damn
Nice to
it!
meet you.
Yeah.
I got sober and made all those changes.
Made so many changes. So many things happen after surrender. It just gets
You
wild.
know.
You never know what's gonna happen. Tiffany, tell us. Tell these guys a little bit about yourself.
I am Tiffany. I'm originally from South Jersey. Now currently live in Texas. I've been sober off my drug of choice, which was Schmeroin, for 9 years, and then I thought I could drink like a regular person because I didn't think that was my thing. Never really liked drinking, and then I abused drinking pretty quickly, so I haven't drank in a year and 7 months. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna be Cali sober. And I've always smoked since I was a teenager, and it was never something that in my life made me lie, steal, cheat, be a piece of shit. And then 5 months ago, I decided to stop smoking, and so now I'm super sober for 5 months officially, and I'm grateful, very, very grateful that I'm even alive to tell any of my story, because I was a crippling drug addict through and through, and I didn't think I was gonna live past 5, let alone make it to 34. So just grateful to be here, and grateful to meet other people like-minded who are also just trying to live another day and be a good person and do the next right thing. And I'm just got to stay grateful at all times.
I love that. And so Tiffany and her sisters Amanda and Valine were on Dr. Phil 12 years ago. And they were on Dr. Phil in front of 8 million people and their parents, and they came out about their usage to Dr. Phil and their parents. I'm telling you. And we just did a podcast with them, and so awesome and so open and so vulnerable. And now having this is the best part about this isn't the interviews and the conversation. It's about we get to create relationships, and we all still go on the tiki-taki together. And I've met so many people. Like Ian came to Chicago, and we went out and had the greatest mandate of all time, and it really was.
Johnny, hold on. I gotta say, Johnny is the best host ever. I had a real Chicagoan experience. Okay, he took me to a ball game. We ate deep dish pizza. I had a Chicagoan hot dog. It was a blast. Like we truly did have an amazing mandate. It was wonderful.
We went to the top of the world. We went to the top of the Willis Tower. It used to be called Sears Tower, but it's called the Willis Tower now. We went to the top of the Willis Tower, and we took pictures that we couldn't post. And then and we went to a meeting while we were there. That was, Ian said, I said, Ian, we can do anything you want to do. This is your day. And Ian said, can we go to a meeting? Yeah, that was one of the inappropriate ones. Well, that one was kind of appropriate. But
I'm coming to Chicago.
Come on, let's go. Well, let's go. Okay, so there we are at the ball game. Oh. And but getting to meet people and getting to not only meet but then actually have a relationship afterwards, have a friendship afterwards. It's it's like going to a meeting. You go to a meeting and then you see these people week in, week out, and you actually get to create a relationship. That's what we're trying to do here, and having these kind of meetings and the Zoom meetings and the tiki-takis, it kind of just keeps that, and that's how I feel. And so I'm so glad that you've joined us, Tiffany, and she joined us specifically because she says, are either of my sisters going to be there? And I said, nope. And she says, okay, I'm in. She joined because of that. Okay, so the question of the day, Tiffany, what is the biggest thing that you've learned since coming into recovery?
The big thing that I learned for me personally, was that drugging and drinking were the solution to the problem of how much I didn't feel hated myself. So I didn't really, like, ever since I was a kid, I never felt like I fit in. I always felt like an outsider, like just pretending, having this mask on. And then I remember the first time that I smoked, I was like, oh yeah, there it is, you know? And then first time I drank, I blacked out as a teenager and I'm like, yeah, let's do that again. Because I felt like I could be part of and be social, and it numbed me feelings that I had towards myself that I would hide, you know, because I literally like I grew up and I had a good childhood, but it was just my internal that you know, you don't talk about it, especially back then. You just hold it in, and I just never felt part of, and I really hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way that I always felt. And then once I took an opiate, that was when I was like, oh yes, this is what I need to do every day, all day. And it made me feel like I was back in my body. And then after so long, I became dependent on it because I was young when I started taking pills. I didn't know that you build a tolerance, and then eventually when you don't have it, you start to withdraw. And then I remember first withdrawing, I was like, oh my God, like now I need it. And then the money you spend, and then I started skipping school, and all the bad things that came after was like, you know, just it became normal. Like my going into the hood every day, twice a day, then using IV using. It was just like all of these things that it got worse. It was just like normal, you know? But that was the thing for me was like when I got sober, I was like, okay, now I'm sober. I still hate myself. I still have all these bad feelings. What do I do? So then I worked a program. I went through the 12 steps and I looked inward. I cleared my side of the street. I saw my part in things, where my resentments were. And then the biggest thing for me too was I had a resentment towards God, and when people would talk about God, I would instantly turn my ears off. But then it was explained to me in a way that I finally got it, where it was like, it doesn't have to be God. It's just the word. The higher power can be whatever you need it to be. It just can't be you anymore because you're a mess. Everything I touch or try to control turns into a shit show. So I was like, oh, okay, I can get down with that. So then once I started using that in my way of life, I'm like, okay, so then I'm really big too. I went spiritual. So then I'm big on like affirmations, talking nice to myself, doing the next right thing when no one's looking, like just trying to be the best version of me for me, not for anyone else, not performing, not putting a mask on, telling you what I think you want to hear. It was just like getting real and then looking inward and doing the work on myself, but continuing to do the work on myself because that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, I'm a depresso girl. Like I can get really depressed pretty quickly, and I'm really self-aware, so I know when it's happening and what I should do, but instead I usually like avoid, isolate, or take a nap. And I found that those were coping mechanisms because I stopped, you know, drugging and drinking. So then now I'm not Cali sober. I'm actually sober. I'm like portraying that in life again. I went through the work again, even though I didn't have a bunch of resentments like I did when I first got off of like hard drugs. It still showed up, you know, or jealousy or just, you know, old habits come in pretty quickly, you know, if you don't keep working on 'em. So the biggest thing for me was just to learn to love myself, but actually mean it, you know? Like in the beginning, I was faking it where I was just like, okay, if I say this enough times, then my brain, it'll trick my brain to be like, okay, you actually might like yourself. Oh, actually you might love yourself. So it was just like action behind words so that my brain can build those neural pathways and being like, okay, there it is. She actually does love herself. And then just giving everything up to my higher power. Like the biggest thing for me was when I first got sober, where it's like, just give it to God, just give it to God. And I'm like, okay, but like, what else, dude? Like, you know, I can say this and that, but ugh. So then I was like, okay, just I got to learn, I got to practice loving myself and giving myself grace and finding connections with people and like putting walls down and then like living life through kindness and love. Like I could really not like someone, but I'm still going to be nice and love them from a distance because it'll only hurt me in the long run if I go back to old habits and let my jersey show where I'm like, you know what, go F yourself. No, or like I'm trying to just constantly live with love and kindness, but also give myself that grace because I'm my biggest hater. I'm my biggest op. And I found that when I do that, I spiral pretty quickly. And then usually when I start doing that, I tend to like, oh, you know what? It's just a little bit of weed. Like I can smoke again. Like not a big deal. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I built connections. I built relationships with people that I can reach out and be like, hey, I'm having a really bad day. Like, what do I do? And I've met people that will still say, give it to God. But then there's other people where they'll just like listen, or they're like, hey, do you want me to listen or do you want a solution? And those people I keep close and I reach out because before I'm an isolator, I like to avoid. And yes, I still give it to God, but also now I have these people who also are in my corner and want the best for me, but give me advice because I can just sit here and stew in it, but that's my problem, and then I start to hate myself again. And it's like, no, 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 no. We put all this work in. You're trying to be better, you're trying to do better. And now I nip it in the butt quicker than I used to. And it's getting better and better with each day. I have hard days, I have really great days, but I try to wake up and be like, universe, show me how good it can get. Or, like I just constantly am just putting out what I want to attract. And I found that life has been really good. I have things in my life now that I never thought I was ever able to have or accomplish. And then also just being sober and not crawling out of my skin was a big one. And I found that through the program and doing the work that life's really great, and it's celebrating the small wins and just staying grateful and attitude of gratitude always really just hypes you up, even though, like you could be super down in the dumps, but if you look around, like I have running water, I have electricity, I have 3 dogs that give me unconditional love. It's just like you find the little things that you're grateful for and you just grab onto them and then you just constantly just keep going. And yeah, I'm very grateful to be here. Grateful to meet you guys. Grateful for his connections. I see Britt Bernard's in here. What's up, girl? Met her through my sister, and yeah, like it's just really amazing to be sober and be coherent and to not hate myself and really spiral and wish I wasn't here because then I would miss all this.
Wow, Tiffany, what a great answer. And this is like, it's so funny because whenever I've talked to you in the past, it's with your sisters, and you usually are kind of, I don't want to say soft spoken, but it's like you kind of let other people jump over. And I'm so glad that you're here and you just shared all that. That's like the most I've ever heard. It's so awesome. And thank you. And I'm proud of you, man. All the things you're doing, it's all the things you're doing. Nothing's easy, right? And you talked about God and the relationship with God and the people in your corner. God puts those people in our corner, right? He puts them there, and that is God for me, and love that. Let me jump over. What are you doing, Britt? How you doing? I'm telling you.
I'm sorry.
Britt, do you know all of our friends?
I do not. Tiff.
Okay, so you know Tiff and Ian, right? I don't know if he's above you or next to you or anything, but he is an author who has written multiple books. He does a lot of things, but his book, The Big Bitter Book, is one of my favorites. And I will, you know what, Ian, if you could send me a few copies, I'm going to give them to everybody here. I'm going to send everybody copies. I'll buy them from you, but I want you to send them to me and I'll send them to them because I don't want you autographing their, because only I get the autograph. But Ian is a very good friend, and Joel at the end is the sober sessions, and He's been on the Tiki Taki and he spoke with us. Britt is we met her through the Sober Girls group chat, and she is one of the biggest troublemakers I've ever met. She's from Philadelphia, and she
Go Birds.
she wears nothing but Philadelphia Eagles apparel. But today's different. Today's a day.
Today I have a spicy dive shirt on.
Who's that? You have a
Gabby, Dicey Dives.
Oh, nice. Look at you. So here's our question today, Brett. This is, what is the most important lesson you've learned in recovery?
Oh, jeez. Question. Did I die out? I'm good?
You're here.
Okay. The most important lesson I've learned in recovery is probably not to take myself so seriously. Hi, buddy. Can you give me 1 minute? I'm on a meeting. Sorry, guys. Yeah, not to take myself so seriously. Have fun with recovery. When I first got sober, I thought that my life was over. I thought that, I was never going to have fun again. How was I going to go to a wedding sober? How was I going to do X, Y, or Z sober? How was I going to watch the birds sober? Because I had never done that before. And I had to learn all these new ways to do things in sobriety. And I learned very quickly, thankfully, by the people that I surrounded myself with, that it was pretty easy to have fun in sobriety. And Tiff knows, she's been around, me and my girlfriends, like, we just have a fucking ball. We just are goofy and ourselves and make each other laugh and talk about weird shit that make, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not ever that serious. Obviously, the topic of addiction is a serious topic, but on the other end of addiction is recovery. And I think if nothing else, I've learned that you have to have fun with it or you're going to be fucking miserable, dude. You're going to be miserable. And there's days where that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? If I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing in recovery, there are days where I am miserable as all hell, and it shows, and I pay the consequences for that. But I think overall, I've learned to just have fun with it and do whatever makes me happy, whether that's playing Legos with my son or sitting on the beach for an hour by myself or whatever that looks like, making stupid TikToks with my friends, punching holes in my wall by accident because of said TikToks. Just having fun and remembering why I got sober in the first place. The reason why I got sober is because I didn't have a life before recovery. I was living a miserable, lonely existence. I wanted to DIE all the time. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to live. And, today I get to live a life where there's endless possibilities. As long as I do what I'm supposed to do, try to keep it light and fun and, just help the next person, reach my hand out when people are in need of, whatever it looks like, whether it's taking a woman through the steps, giving someone a ride to a meeting, whatever that looks like. Acts of service in recovery, I think, keeps me accountable. But yeah, don't take yourself so seriously. You can still have a whole lot of fun in recovery. So.
Dude, what an example of Rule 62. Rule 62 is don't take yourself so seriously. And the book tells us in plain English, we are not a glum lot. We used to be a lot of fun. Remember those days when we were a lot of fun? And then all of a sudden it stopped being fun. And then life got real serious. And, coming back and getting to live a second life in one lifetime, if that isn't a beautiful thing, I don't know what is, I don't have to be that guy I was before. I get to be a new person and a new, and we get to help others. And not only do we get to help others, but we help people, and then we get to watch them help people. You want to feel good about yourself. Watch people that you've helped help others, and it's just amazing. Britt, I'm so glad you're here. And anybody who's not following Britt, the video that she's talking about where she punched a hole in the wall. I mean, she went 100%. Ian, you're gonna love this. You're gonna watch this video. You're laughing already, and you're gonna laugh so hard because she went 100% for this video. There was no stopping her. So, Britt, I'm so glad that you're with us today, and so fun. And you've been, in the Tiki Takis and on the Zoomy Zooms and all the things. And I love you. And do you know my friend Skylar Ray over here?
I do
I
not.
do not.
Skylar is a musician. Skylar is a musician, and he is a recording artist. And not only does he just put out music, he puts out wonderful music. But he goes and he performs at rehabs. Performs at detoxes and facilities and prisons and institutions and all the things. And he has done 100 and hang on, don't let me 130, 132.
No. Sorry. I had it on mute. 128.
Oh, I was so
We're
close.
doing things a little bit different this year. It's a little bit slower, but yeah, we bring recovery focused concerts. Hold on, let me turn this down so I'm not. We bring recovery focused concerts to jails, prisons, and rehabs around the country. We have done 108 stops so far. It's been incredible. We've been so many different places: East Coast, West Coast. We have been able to hit 5 different countries so far. It's been incredible. Like, it's one of my favorite tours. Like, me and my wife, we have been able to do arenas. We have been able to tour with big name artists. But this is by far my favorite tour, just because of the connection I get to meet and who I get to help. And, I get a chance to connect with people who are in their lowest places, and their stories and testament inspires me. It keeps me going. It lights that fuel. It reminds me of what it was like to be new in recovery, full of fear, not knowing how to do this. Maybe some people have been in it 10 times and failed every single time. And I think it's important to have that stark reminder of, what could happen and how hard it was to claw myself out of the darkness and get where I'm at. So it keeps me healthy. It keeps me happy. But on top of that, I get a chance to do what I love, and that is music. So it's been quite the journey.
Sorry, I'm echoing and all over the place, so I need to keep muting myself, and I'm no good with that. I am way too chatty to be muted, and but Skylar, dude, I'm telling you. So Skylar, as we did a podcast recently, and he gave us the first look at his new song, "Brother I Never Knew." Oh man, did it hit? It hit so hard. If you guys have not heard Brother I Never Knew, I'm gonna send this to everybody just so you can cry too. But Krista, I'm telling you, she was crying like you would not believe. Oh my goodness.
Fire.
And dude, because the
Thank
song
you.
is just so poignant and just hits all the feels and the hook into everything, dude. And it's just so amazing. And Skylar was also at Freedom Fest and performed for us there. And to be a performer is one thing. He basically gets up and gives his lead at every show in between the songs, and it's so awesome. So make sure everybody's following Skylar, because Skylar's dope. And
Thank
but
you.
Skylar, we asked the question. Today's question is, what is the most important thing that you've learned in recovery?
Probably being patient. Being patient and understanding that the things I want take time, and it takes a lot of hard work. When I compare myself to others, it seems to kill a lot of joy, because I want what they have. And I find myself beating myself up, telling myself I'm not good enough, and that the reality is I may never achieve it. But I have to have a deeper understanding that with that takes commitment, just like my recovery. These things that I want, that people have, sometimes they have worked 10, 15 years, 20 years to achieve. And so I have to remind myself that it will come as long as I keep putting the work in, as long as I get up every day, strive to be a better version of myself. Um, it's possible.
right? Nothing is guaranteed, but these are promises that I'm able to fulfill with myself as long as I keep going, right? A lot of times I don't know where I'm going, how I'm going to get there, but I do put my best foot forward every single day and I don't give up, right? I'm very blessed to have a career pathway through arts and communication, which I truly have always wanted. So this journey is something that not only I admire, but something that is fun. So just reminding myself to be patient. I find a lot of people early on in recovery, and I tell people this, they become complacent. They stop growing. They stop aiming and striving to be better every single day. And so, I ask people, and, I get a chance to meet tens of thousands of addicts, a lot, mostly in early recovery around the country every single year. And no matter what the demographic is, I find a lot of people, they end up relapsing because they settle. They're not happy or they don't know how to continue to grow from there. And so, I find people saying, they wanted this, they wanted that, but it just wasn't coming. And if they can't have that, they might as well go have fun. Why put in the work, right? And I get from a perspective of being an addict because we want everything now, right? We want instant gratification. So the fact that we think it's just mind baffling to think that if you want something, you have to wait sometimes 5, 10, 15 years and continue to work on it every single day. Because when we're getting high, if we wanted something, we would go rob somebody, we would go steal, we'd go get high within 10, 20, 30 minutes. And that was the ultimate joy in our lives. Right. And so, like, people want kids, people want nice houses, nice cars, a nice career. And it's like, people have truly put their entire lives in it to achieve those things. So, I would say being patient and also remember not to compare ourselves to anybody else besides if we're comparing ourselves to our past versions.
Dude,
That would be my
that's
suggestion.
so amazing because and I just talked about that this morning on the TikTok, right? We talk about the progressiveness of the disease. We go down. Our life starts here, we go down. And when we find recovery, when we hit that bottom, that gift of desperation, we're down here. And it's progressive the way it goes up too. We don't just because we quit, just because we put the plug in the jug, just because we stopped using, it doesn't automatically says, okay, life's great again. No, hell no. We got a lot of work to do. And patience is the biggest thing. And we got to, repair relationships. We got to build self esteem. We got to do a lot of stuff to get back to where we were. And, so in saying that, it's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to keep today we did the letter Z and we're finally done with the recovery alphabet for the 4th time on TikTok. And Z, the best word that we hear is zeal. Zeal, zeal, to have zeal, to actually, be enthusiastic. It's so hard when you're down here trying to get back up here to keep that zeal. So my last question for you guys, and Valine, thank you for joining us. Tiffany was talking so much trash about you a little bit ago. Britt was my witness. Oh my God, Britt.
She better not.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I told her she shouldn't say that. But okay, so my second question, and I'm going to ask you my first question too, Valine. But the second question I'm going to ask, and we're going to go back around, is how do you stay motivated in recovery? How do you keep going? And it could be from when you were 2 days sober or to where you are now. How do you keep going after some time in sobriety? But okay, I'm going to skip that. Valine, the main question of today is what's the biggest thing that you've learned since you found recovery?
The biggest thing that I've learned, yes.
Is that Johnny's a big trash talker? Yes, we all know that.
I learned that for sure. But life is messy and life keeps happening. And I learned that I needed coping skills and I need to learn how to deal with life on life's terms, because I thought it was messy before and I thought that I would get sober and things would get easier, And although they're easier problems than I had before, I still need to learn how to manage to deal with that.
Life on life's terms. That's dude, that's the biggest lesson that we have to learn when we get into when we find recovery is, and we didn't deal with life on life's terms before. We dealt with life on drugs terms and alcohol's terms. And,
Yeah, I hate being a grown up.
yeah, there's a
lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So, now that you've found recovery, now that we're here, and Val, I'm gonna come back to you because I know Ian might have to jump in a second and a half because he's a very important man who's one of the funniest people you're ever gonna meet in your entire life. Val, this is Ian from the Big Bitter Bookstore. He's kind of like my twin brother. It's why he doesn't wear glasses anymore because we look entirely too much alike. Ian, how do you stay motivated after all these years?
It's a great question. I learned at the speed of pain, right? And so every day is an opportunity for me to realize that, to be reminded that my life ran on my will just punches me in the face. and I stay motivated by, I try my best not to lose that magic, that miracle, right? Like, I remember, like, there's days where I live in a beautiful state, right? And it sounds so cliche and so stupid, but it's like, dude, just walking outside, seeing the sun, the mountains, and stuff like that. When I'm locked in my own head and I'm worried about bills, I'm worried about, stuff in my vicinity, I lose that spark, right? So the best way I stay motivated is helping a newcomer because it reminds me of where I came from, and just being reminded that, like, I have survived 100% of my worst days so far, 100% of them, and I have no idea what tomorrow's gonna bring, and the miracle and magic of the world that I live in today, and I will never find out if I give up now. Right? And so just the little simple stuff is the things that keep me motivated, because the simple stuff are the things that are going to keep me on the right track when it all doesn't seem worth it, I guess. It doesn't seem possible.
That's dude, thank you so much, and thank you for being here. The question, how do we stay motivated, right? We got to stay motivated in a lot of different things in life. Staying motivated in our recovery and keeping going to meetings is hard. It's hard, especially when I was 26 and I'm hanging out with a bunch of old dudes, and I didn't want to go hang out with a bunch of old dudes, and I did it anyway because I knew that if I wanted what they had, I had to do what they did. And now today, right, my best friend in the world, it was Krista, the sober Barbie, right? We do this every week. She is doing some personal things and doing some extraordinary things today. And last night I was like, dude, I think we're just going to go dark. We're not going to do Never Alone Live, even though we've done it every week for over a year. I said, maybe we just take this week off. And the only thing that motivated me was all you guys. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get all my peeps, and we're gonna get together, and we're just gonna do the damn thing, and come and have an awesome conversation. And even if Valine decided she didn't want to be here because she doesn't like Ian, I'm not even saying anything about it. It was a little offensive, but we're not even gonna talk about it because it's that kind of love we have around here. So thank you, Ian. I'm gonna move over to Joel. Joel, my brother. What keeps you motivated?
Man, for me, right? I don't think it's so much about motivation as it is discipline, right? Because motivation has an expiration, and that's where discipline has to step in. But if I really had to answer that question, I mean, what keeps me motivated? Let me get rid of that phone call. What keeps me motivated? Never forgetting my darkest days. And I think that's a big thing. We get so comfortable in recovery, we get 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? And then we let that creep back into our head. So for me, I stay motivated by never forgetting my darkest days, where I've come from, the seizures, the heart attacks, the comas, the dying being brought back. I don't forget any of that. I'm only 39 years old, right? I shouldn't be here today, but I am. It's by the grace of God. He kept me here. You know, but it also goes back to you know, it's like what Ian was saying. The newcomers and the old timers. It's simple. The newcomers remind me of where I've been. And the old timers, like they remind me of where I'm headed. You know, they're both just as important. And then I sit somewhere in the middle. You know, I need the reminder of where I've been. Just like I said, my darkest days. I need to feel their pain because I remember what that was like. But then I sit next to the old timer and he gives me the hope. He gives me the wisdom. He gives me the understanding of, if this is the life that I want to live, if you want what we have, you have to do what we do. Right? And that's important. But I also dig deep into my Bible, into scripture. And that's what keeps me motivated, because all my answers I need in this life are sitting right there in that book. There are 2 books in my life. The big book and then the really big book. You know, and when I can take those 2 worlds and collide them into one, like that's my motivation. To not only pull that addict who's sick and suffering out of the depths of hell, but also teach them that they're never alone. And there's a man greater than myself that will also pull you out. Because none of us are here by mistake. None of us. Like everybody in this box, like we have a purpose. God has kept us here because he's not done writing our story yet. So coming into rooms like this, listening to each and every one of you speak, that's my motivation. You know, understanding the life that we've all lived, where we have been and where we are now and who we're becoming. You know, that's the big word lately in my life, becoming. Who am I becoming? I'm becoming a better man, a better spouse, a better father, better son, better friend, better brother, you know? So yeah, you know, it to sum it up, it's those things, but really, man, it ain't about motivation. It's about discipline. When you don't want to do it, get up and do it anyways. Show up for that person. You know, show up for yourself. It's easy to be trapped in one. When I get like that, I need to look out. You know, I need to put that and put it out into the community, the people, them, and it helps me. You know, but really, man, that's it. I won't speak much longer. That's it, man. It's discipline. Discipline.
Thank you so much, Joel. I love you, brother, and I appreciate you. And I'm so glad that you're back doing what you're doing on the social media. You want to hear something crazy? You know, Joel lives in North Carolina, and I was at a meeting.
I can't hear you, Johnny. Can y'all hear? Or is it my phone?
No. Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm from
South Carolina, by the way, Johnny.
So, okay, you meant what I knew. So Joel is from South Carolina, and he's an influencer, and he puts out a lot of great content on Facebook and on TikTok and all the stuff, right? And I'm at my Friday night meeting, and the topic was whatever the topic was, and a person at the meeting, she says, I follow this guy on Facebook, and he said this. And sure enough, it's my buddy Joel Anthony that she's talking about, and she had no clue that he and I knew each other or anything like that. But it was just the uncanny coincidence that, and I got to tell you this because your message is out there and it means something. So keep doing what you're doing, kid. I love you. Let me move over to Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. What gets you, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you coming back?
What keeps me coming back is literally just, I don't want to feel how I was feeling, you know? I got to a point where I was very miserable, and I had all these great things in my life, and I wasn't happy. And I hated that I felt like that all the time. So I was like, okay, what do I do different? And so now it's just me constantly running away from that feeling. So what's the next thing I can do to make me feel good? And that's the big thing is attitude of gratitude. I'd constantly have to remind myself, attitude of gratitude. And it is very difficult and it gets easier with time, but it's literally just changing the thoughts in my brain because they are very sometimes they're very dark, sometimes they're very toxic. And it's only to me, where it's recognizing the thought and then switching the narrative. So it's just, like when I'm, what is it, Polly Pissy Pants? I'm like, no, 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 no. Spin it, spin the narrative, spin the perspective. And then also both my sisters are sober, so it's like easier for me because I am so close with them that, now like I made the choice to get sober instead of being Cali sober to get actually sober. So I made that choice. But now it's like I'm doing it for me, but I'm also doing it for them and my parents and the people around me. Like I have so much to give and so much to live for. And since getting back into the program, it's just I've met so many amazing people that I also don't want to disappoint them and feel shameful or feel guilty. So it's just more on like I'm 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 staying consistent in this one thing, and then like what he said, Joel said, the discipline, like it is staying consistent and disciplining yourself because, it's so easy to revert back because it's all we knew. So now doing something difficult, doing something different, but then also just trying to do the next right thing because I don't want to feel how I used to feel. And that's always the goal. What keeps me motivated is I don't want to feel like that anymore. And I don't want to numb my feeling so that I don't feel like that. It's just a constant cycle. And it's like, so that's my motivation is I don't want to feel how I used to feel because I have everything to live for, and I don't want to go back to that dark, sad, depressed. And I do have my days, but it's still just not reverting back to my old habits of drinking and drugging. It's okay, feel your feelings, move on, switch your narrative, get an attitude of gratitude, find something, the other guy said, go outside, put your feet in some grass, breathe some fresh air. Just do anything different that you're not just isolated in a room, just wanting to die and drink and drug. So that's my motivation is chasing, running away from trying the feeling that I used to feel like.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing with us today. And I'm so proud of you and all the things that you're doing. Let me drop down to Britt. Britt, what's happening? Britt, this is an important question, and I think that your answer is extra important because being a Philadelphia fan, I mean, it's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to keep loving this team over and over. Right? I know. So that being said,
I can't hear Johnny for some reason.
You don't want to hear this anyway.
But I know the question. Can y'all hear me?
Britt, I'm gonna come back to you in 2 seconds. Skylar,
Y'all can hear me. Give me a thumbs up.
Okay,
Cool. So look, my motivation for every single day is I'm a grinder, right? I get up, I want to build, I want to make the most out of life.
So like that is the question, right? I see some laughing. Okay. Like I said, I can't hear y'all, so I'm just going autopilot right now. My motivation is clear cut. I wake up hungry every single day to live a better life. I'm very blessed. I have a beautiful wife. And what I mean by beautiful is she's caring, she's loving, she's hardworking. She makes so many sacrifices to make sure that I could live the dreams that I want to live. And so I'm very motivated to provide her with the best life that I can give her. I have a beautiful doggo. I have so much to be grateful for. And so when I think of motivation, I think of, who I'm doing it for. And most importantly, I'm doing it for myself, right? Growing up, I've had these dreams since I was 9 years old. I owe it to that 9-year-old boy to give it my best shot. you know, whether I become successful or whether I fail. In a lot of ways, I already am successful. But I owe it to that 9-year-old boy who had those dreams before he was left on the corner and separated and put in foster care and was homeless at 18, and, you know, didn't get such a fair shot at life from the very beginning. I'm in position now to be able to make my dreams come true, to be able to reach my goals. Um, my past definitely has a factor of what motivates me. For so long, I was counted out. I counted myself out. And now that I am able to get up, swinging every single day, and I am on the right path, um, over 7 years of, you know, clean from everything, every single substance. What also motivates me is knowing that I can't do anything. I can't drink, I can't smoke. You know, because I like to just get maxed out on everything, every substance available. You know, it isn't no just have a shot and I could just have a margarita because I'm in Mexico right now, or, you know, and no one will know me. There has to be some type of motivation to be able to hold myself accountable when nobody's looking. Right? There's so many times I'm out the country and not a single soul knows me. It wouldn't ruin my reputation. It wouldn't ruin anything that I have built. Besides the fact that it would absolutely destroy everything because I can't do anything. I can't just have a margarita like a normal person, or go out and smoke something and have fun and, you know, play Grand Theft Auto with the city for the weekend and then come back home and be normal. You know, I can't do that, because my entire life will fall apart. And so the fact that, you know, I have strung some days together, of some clean time, that motivates me, right? My clean date is very important to me because I have never got this far in life and, you know, in many aspects. And so I wake up, like I said, motivated. I'm a grinder. I'm motivated by goals. I'm motivated by energy. I'm motivated by success. Um, so, you know, that's the whole reason why I got clean, is to give myself my best opportunity in music. You know, and that's why, like, my logo for my brand is a microphone with wings, because, you know, music got me clean, and, you know, but recovery is what keeps me clean, right? Because I gave myself a shot to get clean, to give my best opportunity in music. Then life started going successful, and I was like, oh, it's because I'm no longer on drugs. It's because I'm no longer drinking. You know, life is pretty awesome now. So I have so much to be grateful for. I'm far from where I want to be. I have so many aspirations, and places that I want to, you know, get to. But the fact that I have a real shot in life at it, that means the world to me. I don't need it all. You know, no matter, even if I want it all, I don't need it all. But the fact that I have an opportunity to achieve greatness, like, that's all I need. That's all I ever asked for in life. When I was having those pity parties and poor me, it's like all I asked for was a shot, and now I have that. So I'm grateful, and thank you for, you know, giving me the opportunity to share that. So
Thank you, Skylar. I don't know if Skylar can hear me or not, but if you, I love you, brother. Okay, so I'm gonna move over to Britt Bernard. Britt, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
I don't know if you heard any of my trash talk before. And
About bagels, yeah.
about, you know, so how do you stay motivated?
I don't
I don't have a shirt on, but I can tell stuff.
Got it. How do you stay motivated? How do you keep the zeal? How do you keep being invigorated? And I know you're awesome. You're so funny. You do all your TikTok or your content, and it's all humorous. And how do you keep the motivation?
So my original answer when you asked the question in my head was the God of understanding, like my higher power. And then Joel started talking. And I was listening to him. And like he said, what did he say? He said, motivation is discipline, something along those lines.
Motivation.
And I don't know if there's what was that?
You're gonna have to mute, bro.
Yeah,
There we
the
go. Now
echo
he's
is
muted.
crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, I said, you know, motivation has an expiration, and that's where discipline steps
That's what
in.
you said. Okay, so that sparked something in my brain. And what it sparked for me was like the motivation for me has changed over the years. Like when I first got sober, the motivation was to escape the consequences of my drinking, right? I had consequences showing up. I didn't want those consequences. I was like, you know what's going to work? My mom's sober a long time. I'm going to tell her I need to go to rehab. That's going to fix it. And that was the motivation to get sober. And then I stayed sober for a little bit and I started listening to people. And the motivation became myself because I liked who I was sober better than I liked the drunk version of me. And then I had my son, and Johnny knows, I think Tiff knows, my son is autistic. I'm going to get emotional and I apologize. He's 6 years old. He didn't speak until after his 3rd birthday. And right now he's excelling in a general education setting with gen ed peers. And my motivation has become him and the mom that I am to him. Because if I put substances in my body, I don't show up for that little boy who needs me. And, you know, that's become my motivation. Obviously, my higher power still has a hand in that, because without a connection to not only my higher power, but the community that I belong to within the recovery community, the people like Tiff and my girlfriends, and even my mom has become part of that community for me, because of the time that she is sober. Without those things, I don't keep that motivation, right? Like he is the inspiration behind the motivation, but like I have to have the discipline, like Joel said, to put the work in to continue to keep that motivation alive. And yeah, I think for me, not only that, but like just being able to pull somebody else out of a place that I was once in, motivates me all the time. You know, I have a friend who recently celebrated a year sober, and a year ago, maybe over a year ago, I was pulling her out of motel rooms because she was being trafficked and all kinds of crazy stuff was going on in her life. And looking at her now with her 1-year-old baby sober, like I think Johnny said, like watching somebody else, somebody that you helped help somebody else, like that, if that ain't motivation, I don't know what it is. Because like I surely thought that I was going to get the phone call that she was going to be dead somewhere in a ditch. And she did get shot along the way, but she's still here to tell the tale. So like it is what it is. But yeah, I think those things are the things that, you know, give me the biggest motivation for sure.
That's so amazing. And you know, knowing your story and knowing about the daily life on life terms that you're dealing with every day, you know, it's that's motivation for me. You know, God has put a lot of interesting new people into my life, especially over the last 2 years and doing all this, right? You know, hundreds of new friends all over the country that are all living a different way. So it's you guys, I watch you guys, and that keeps me motivated, hearing other people's stories and not just their past. We all had a past. I want to hear about how you're implementing the solution into your life and staying happy. Right, that's big for me. That's what works for me, you know. And watching you guys do what you do online, you know, watching the influencers influence. That's what this is, you know. They're showing that life's not over. You know, the second life that we're given, that it's amazing, you know. But it's as amazing as we make it, you know, just as is everything in life. So I want to thank you guys for coming out here today. You know, if Krista was here, she'd be doting on you guys as well. I'm gonna get a call later. She's gonna be pissed she missed this one. But she loves you guys too. I love you guys, and thank you everyone who is watching and will be watching. We had Ian from the Big Bitter Book. Anybody looking for his book, send us a message. We're going to send it to you. Joel, my brother from the Sober Sessions. Make sure you're following the Sober Sessions on all the thingies. And Tiffany Holloway and Valine Holloway. Make sure you're following them. And Britt Bernard down there. So much trouble all the time. And then, of course, Skylar Ray. Follow him. Listen to the music, because his music's music speaks volumes. So, God,
Thank
you know,
you.
God, I'm so blessed to have all you guys here with me today, chilling and talking recovery. And thank you again for coming out. Thanks for being here, and we will see you again next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye.